there's no
Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording now. We'll just naturally get into it. She said that there's no people that announce the bingo shit anymore. It's just machines. Like you play bingo on a machine.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Everything's computerized nowadays.
That's so weird to me.
It is very
That like takes away the whole experience of bingo, dude.
Yeah.
Talk for me a little bit.
Everything at the casinos now, I mean, that's why I play craps.
Do you play craps?
I do play craps.
Oh,
I love
you're
craps.
you're a gambler, huh?
I like throwing the dice.
Oh, dude, I hate gambling.
But you got to go in with your number,
Yeah.
and if you go down, then you're done.
Wait, okay. Which one is craps?
So craps is where you throw the dice on the table.
Yeah.
It's like always the rowdiest table.
Is that the
at
one where everyone's
casino.
like 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
See, I'm so not a gambler. I don't even know what the games are called. Like I know blackjack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the difference between blackjack, Texas Hold'em, poker, or any of that shit is.
Blackjack's just going to 21, so basically hoping that the deck's not stacked against you. And
Yeah.
Poker's actually, playing 2 cards in your hand, 5 cards on the deck. So
Huh.
waiting as they come out, and your hand can get better and better
Yeah.
as the cards come out.
Do you play cards too?
Yeah, I like playing
Yeah.
poker.
Okay, cool. What got you into gambling?
I wouldn't say I'm like a degenerate gambler, but
But you like to gamble?
I enjoy it. It's fun competition.
Are you fucking kidding me? I just threw it. This is my mommy. Light interruption of the podcast. My bad, guys. Turn that shit off. How do you turn it off? Do you know how to? Taylor will figure it out.
It's the competitive nature.
You like to gamble for competition?
It's not necessarily gambling if you know what you're doing. I mean, if it's
Okay.
calculated, I mean, if you're just showing up and playing and hoping to get lucky, it's definitely gambling. But if you're actually putting some effort into it and, know your odds and stuff, you can play it the smart way.
So you don't like count cards or anything?
No.
No?
Definitely not counting cards.
Okay.
But, I mean, there's probability to it.
Yeah. So do you have an actual strat when you go in?
Yeah. I mean, I play the line, and then, if I'm playing craps, typically I'm playing the line always. And
What is that?
So the line's like, you have to play the line always when you're playing craps, and then there's a whole bunch of different games. Like you can play the field on or off, and it's basically just different number rolls that you can hit. So the field has the different numbers that you can roll. The line has different numbers that you can roll, and you get paid out different ways, different odds, depending on what's rolled out.
Got it. Okay. Who taught you about all this stuff?
My buddy Zach taught me how to play craps.
Your buddy Zach?
Yeah.
Is he a
Well,
degenerate gambler? Or?
He's a degenerate gambler.
Yeah.
But he's good. He has his strategy too. But the first time I played craps, we went in and I invested like $300. We were going in, and it was like $300. I'm going to learn how to play this, and they'll teach you the game there. Whoever's at the table.
Okay.
So I mean, the casinos are actually super helpful because they want to get you in and get you playing, so you know what you're doing.
Right. Because you'll spend more money.
More likely to come back and spend more money. Yeah.
Right.
I feel like you have a better chance of winning. So.
Okay.
They're smart.
So how old were you when you started actually gambling? You got to be 21, but is that like when you?
No, I mean I've been playing like blackjack, or not blackjack, Texas, probably for, I don't know, probably since I was like 13, just like with the family.
Really?
Like when we're up at deer camp or whatever, we'll play Texas. But I mean, obviously going to the casinos, I really never got into it at the casinos. And then probably a year or two ago, found the craps table and learned how to play it. I think probably New Year's a year or two ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this before you found Taylor? Was this your first love?
No.
Gambling?
It was not. I wouldn't say I love gambling. I enjoy gambling.
Okay. Got it.
Something fun to do.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
like I'm going to go to the casino every weekend, or not like I'm betting on all the football games and all that stuff, but
Dude, that I actually don't get when people are betting on like fucking games and stuff,
I mean,
or
you
sports
you
teams.
can bet on everything.
Right. Like people who bet on horses.
Yeah, I don't get
That's
that.
so strange to me.
No.
What is that called? The Kentucky Derby, right?
Yep.
Do you watch that?
No.
No. I went to a party this year for the Kentucky Derby, and seeing how fired up people get to watch horses run for 30 seconds is wild.
The amount of money that goes into it is insane.
I know, dude. I genuinely think it's some sort of like money laundering
I
thing.
think it is, yeah.
You do too? Yeah, because it's
It wouldn't
like,
surprise me.
dude, you see billionaires there, millionaires, and all over horses.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
And how do you know what horse is actually like?
Exactly.
Because a horse could be like the winner, and then the next weekend, they always say it's shot at the next race because it all goes into that one race, and then
Right.
the horse that wins that race will get like sixth the next race. It makes no sense to me.
It's just a game of chance again.
Yeah, I think so.
That's funny.
I think people just bet on the names that they like.
Yeah. No, that's actually what we did. We were like, whatever name was the funniest, you just chose, and you went with that for $20 or whatever. To me, $20 is $20, man. I'm not gonna throw $20 away for no reason.
I agree.
So anyway, welcome back to another podcast, Counterculture. This is Elijah. Funny story. He is my cousin's fiance. So we're gonna grill him today about what his intentions with my cousin are. Elijah, what do you intend on doing with my cousin?
I intend to marry your cousin and give her the best life that I can offer her.
Treat her like a lady, huh?
Exactly.
That's good.
Traditional, very traditional.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. What does that mean to you?
I believe in the traditional role in a marriage. So it's my duty to provide for her and to give her everything. And if she wants to work, great, but I don't want her to have to work. So
Okay.
I feel like it's my duty and obligation to provide the best life for her. She doesn't have to worry about the bills at all. And if she wants to go work because she enjoys working, that's up to her at the end of the day. But I want her to be able to pursue her passions. You know, when we start a family, I want her to be present, take care of the kids. I don't want them being raised by the education system. I'd like her to be very involved with them.
How does she feel about that? Speak for her, please.
I think that she is very, very much so in line with it. We've talked about it a lot of times. So very open about it from the start that was my, goal is to be able to retire her as quick as I can.
Yeah.
And then just let her enjoy.
So you've always felt this way? Is this how, like, have you always been a traditional man?
Yeah, very much so. I think that's something that's really missing in society.
Okay.
We're seeing it kind of more and more. Society's getting weird right now.
Really?
A little bit.
Okay.
Things a little off.
Yeah. What do you think is off?
I don't know. I just don't think there's enough structure or traditionalism anymore.
Yeah.
Everything people say and do goes, and it's about feelings instead of facts.
I just had this talk with my last guest, Steve Meyer. He's like my spiritual mentor.
Okay.
He's been trying to convert me to Christianity for years now. And I actually think that I did that this past week. I think that I made myself a Christian while talking to my friend.
It's awesome.
Very strange. Weird experience. The hairs on my arms stood up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were talking about the idea of people being more interested in their truth than the actual truth. Mm-hmm. And the reason for it is it's just way more convenient to have your truth than the actual truth, because that way you get to be self-serving more so and not serve other people.
Yeah, 100% agree. But at the end of the day, society does not continue on and get better if we're going off of feelings versus facts, because at the end of the day, I love to say it is what it is. And the truth does not lie. Love ain't lies.
Yeah, that's true. So did you grow up in a super traditional family? Is this how you were raised?
Yeah, very traditional family, traditional roles. My grandparents have been married for going on, I think, 60 years? Over 60 years.
60?
And it's as traditional as it gets. My grandmother has always, taken care of the homestead. My grandpa's always taken care of the business and whatnot. And grandma raised all the kids, and everyone turned out pretty good.
And then your dad continued the same way?
Yep, my dad continued the same way. I have 5 brothers, and I think we've all turned out pretty good. 2 oldest brothers are doctors.
Wow.
My brother right below me was my business partner for a period, and he's into business. Brother below him is an electrician, and the youngest one is in his junior year of high school still. So
very cool. Wow. So what did Grandpa do?
So my grandpa worked for ITT. He was the vice president of, I believe, the West Coast of ITT, so financial firm, and he did that and retired when he was in his 50s. And then after a little bit, he decided to get in the mortgage industry with my father.
The mortgage industry?
Yep.
Okay.
So they opened 3 different mortgage companies, had just under 300 employees, and then 2008 happened, so they had a good 20-year run in the mortgage industry. 2008 happened, and they went from about 300 employees down to about 14 over the next 4 years.
Wow.
When the world was falling apart.
So then where does your dad make the transition from the mortgage stuff into what he does now?
Yeah, so in 2014, when they were closing down the mortgage offices, they rolled everything into Waterstone Mortgage. And they had all this office furniture in the office that they owned, and nobody likes to lease spaces with them fully furnished. So he had my brother and I start posting ads on Craigslist, and he started selling off the office furniture. And about a year later, Office Furniture Warehouse was born.
Wow. Okay. So this started because he had furniture from his last business.
Yep.
So how did he, I guess, come up with the idea of just continuing to do that after putting it up for sale?
So he started to turn some serious profit, and didn't know what he wanted to do next in life, so he just kind of ran with it because it was working. He had consistent cash flow coming in from all the furniture, and then a friend of mine's father was in the used furniture liquidation space and relocation space.
So that's what I was just going to ask.
Yep. And they got to talking at a football game, and he didn't really do a lot of resale on the furniture, so we started taking that inventory that he was liquidating from some of these companies, and we were reselling it on the resale side of the business.
So did your dad go to college?
He did. Yep. He went to Milwaukee for business.
Did he get a degree?
I believe he did get a business degree.
Okay. And so out of all your brothers, how many of you guys got degrees?
So my two oldest brothers got degrees. I ended up dropping out, and then my two younger brothers, the one right below me, he didn't go to college. He went the business route, and then the one below him went to trade school.
Okay, cool. Why did you go to college in the first place?
I went to college because my parents wanted me to. So
even after being in business?
Yeah, so I hadn't started my company at this point yet.
Even after your dad had the experience of being in business.
Yep.
Wow, okay.
So they really believed in the education system. They put us through private school. I took a non-traditional route. I convinced my parents after my first semester of freshman year of high school to let me leave high school and go live down in Georgia and race motocross year-round.
What? Really?
Yep. So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I toured, the U.S. racing the amateur national circuit for motocross. Lived at 3 different training facilities in Georgia over the next 3 years, and yeah.
Did you do homeschool?
Yeah, so I did online school, so I schooled myself.
Really?
Yep. So
Okay.
before online school got big with the pandemic, I was years ahead of that.
Wait, but I couldn't even imagine doing that because I was such a bad student in high school. I got to be a good student in college, actually a really good student, but in high school, so you were actually dedicated to doing this school, or did you kind of fuck it off?
So the whole thing about school is there's so much wasted time in the classroom.
Yeah, 100%.
With all the other students being there, everyone has to learn at the same pace. So someone like you could take 10 minutes to get something where another person in the classroom couldn't get it for 3 days while you're in that chapter, and you are put at the pace of that other person.
Right, because I'm a genius. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you got all the other things. You got your gym class, and you got recess, and lunch breaks, and all these other breaks throughout the day, and it just spreads it out over 8 hours, and it's almost like it's more of a daycare than it is a school. I mean, if someone's able to learn at a much faster pace, why slow them down? Just, in my opinion, let them go. So my schooling took me probably on average about 3 hours a week, if even.
Wow.
And I still graduated with, great grades.
Did you have to, is there standardized testing that you have to go do?
So it was a program called K-12, so normal curriculum that you would learn in a traditional school system. Mm-hmm. It's a registered public school system. It was just all on the computer, except they give you all the textbooks and the lessons and plans, and you can go at it as quick as you want to.
Wow, that's nuts. So what drove you to want to go race motocross? And on top of that, how did you actually convince your parents to let you do that?
So I started racing motocross when I was about 11 years old, and I was very dedicated to it. I get very obsessive about things that I'm passionate about.
Makes sense.
I saw that all the top kids were, at these training facilities that were trying to go pro, and I got really serious and dedicated about my training. Mm-hmm. I was running 3 to 6 miles a day, and then cycling about 40 miles on average a day on top of it, doing workouts on top of all the cardio, and just committed to getting in the best physical shape that I could be in. So I was aggressive as I could be on the track, and just got real dedicated with it. So after, probably 6 months of my parents seeing that, and, my head just was not at being at school, it was on racing. I took a business plan to my parents and proposed it to them, and, gave my elevator pitch on why it's a smart decision to let me do this and go down this non-traditional path, and they bought into it.
Give it to us.
I don't know if I have it memorized still, but
You got something?
yeah. So basically, it was going about it. It's a very expensive sport to be in. So there's no point on showing up if you're not fully dedicated to it, because if you're not fully dedicated, the odds of you going pro are very, very low. So the more time that I could invest in doing that and going down that career path, the better of an investment it was for them to let me, race and not just show up on the weekends as a weekend warrior, but to actually go at it like it's a true profession. So
What was like a normal day like in those training camps?
yeah, so wake up typically about 7 a.m., go work out for hour to hour and a half.
Did they have a program for you to follow?
Yep, yeah. Each of the tracks had a professional personal trainer there. Some of them had 2 or 3 of them there. So it was very, very scheduled that way. Eat breakfast, and then you'd run your different motos throughout the days, or certain days would be just certain drill training, so like corner technique and all that kind of stuff. So they have actual pros at the tracks that have made a career out of racing and whatnot, and they're teaching every single different technique, and typically riding for about a 4 to 5 hour period throughout the day. You're not riding that whole time, but that's like your dedicated drill time. And then in the afternoon again, typically working out again, or doing bike work, and then getting your schoolwork done.
That's crazy, dude. That's like a full-time job.
Yeah, it really was.
How old were you again?
I was 14 to 18 when I was living down there.
What do you think is like, so obviously you were a super dedicated kid.
Yep.
Like you said, to something that you're passionate about. Why do you think you were like that? Did somebody in your family like drip that onto you, or?
Well, I always saw the work ethic that my dad and my grandpa had. They instilled a really, really good work ethic in us when we were young. I mean, we had a landscape company as early as I can remember, that my dad would have me and all my brothers do the landscaping at the offices for a couple of their different friends. And, they just made sure that we were always working and learned that work ethic. Nothing was free. It was always, if you want to go buy something, you got to put more hours in and do more chores, or, go work at your landscape company and get the lawns mowed. And you can talk to our buddies if any of them want a landscape service or lawn care company to help them out. So
Were your parents like hard on you kids?
yeah, we were definitely very disciplined.
Okay.
Yep.
How so? Would you get like reprimanded if you didn't go out
yeah.
and cut the lawns?
Yep, definitely. I mean, there was just not an option to stay inside and play video games and all that kind of stuff. It was go outside and play, or, you're helping me out this weekend with this project or that project. So they just always kept us really, really involved with everything. And it wasn't like, you're too young to do this. It was always try it out and do it to your best of your ability.
Yeah. I feel like nowadays people kind of look at me and Heather as psychos, because we're like, we don't just let our kids sit and watch TV. Like, obviously they get their TV time, but we're like, we make them do shit. Like, our kids have to clean up their fucking mess. We're not going to clean up after you. And Izzy's 3 years old, Caden's 5. But we tell them, you got to clean up your stuff. If you're going to bring it out, you clean it up. We're not going to do it for you. They have to play outside. Like, I literally force them to be outside for X amount of time during the day. And then, when they get their quiet time or whatever, that's when they get TV.
Yep.
I think that's like a lost art, though. So many parents don't do that anymore.
I mean, think about the imagination that they have. I mean, I remember being, that same age, and again, being forced to play outside and stuff, and it gets your imagination going, and you become creative that way, and you see the world in a different way versus living vicariously through these TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me. Right now, there's kids that sit there and watch other people play video games.
Yeah,
Like,
that's wild.
it's as bad as it is that kids will sit in front of a TV all day and play video games instead of actually doing real world stuff outside. But now they're not even playing. They're just watching another person play a video game.
Right. And it'd be better to be the kid playing the video game, because you would be the kid that other kids are watching while making money doing that later on. That's interesting too, though, that you say the imagination thing, right? Because you talked about briefly the education system.
Yep.
Is my opinion that the education system is that way, the way that it is, to kind of eliminate some of the creativity from children.
100% agree. When you are just following everything out of a textbook, not figuring things out real world, it limits you. And that's one of my favorite takeaways from being able to go down the non-traditional path that I did, was I was able to learn real world experience. I mean, I was meeting people all over the country. I was negotiating deals with different sponsors over the years, writing and sending in resumes to them, starting at 13 years old, on why they should sponsor me and why I'm going to be a great athlete to endorse their product and whatnot. And this is the return that you'll have on it in exchange for this, things like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Because when I was a kid, it was skateboarding, and I would do the same thing. We'd like film ourselves, make tapes, and then we'd send it off to companies and be like, "This is why you should sponsor us."
Definitely.
Yeah,
Think about all the people that you met at the skate park, probably.
Yeah. I mean, tons. I mean, more so when I got into music, but yeah, definitely at the skate park. But you were learning what I think is the most important skill anybody can have, and it's a skill. And that's networking.
Definitely.
Networking to me has been like, when I've learned how to properly network and learned what that actually meant, and not that it was some like douchey business term, I feel like everything in my life changed.
100%. Your network is your net worth, as they say nowadays. I mean, if you are around the wrong people, whether it's in business or just, leisure life, whatever it is, the people you surround yourself with are either going to pull you up or they're going to pull you back.
Yep.
So if you got a bunch of friends that are into fitness and business and things, I can guarantee that you will make more money, that you'll get in better shape. If you surround yourself with people who want to do nothing but drink and party and whatnot, they're going to stay in the same spot, and a lot of times you'll hear, the world's against them. Not saying that you can't do a great combination of both,
right? But,
the people that you're with are going to, really affect how you end up being. Yeah.
Let's circle back a little bit. Because I would definitely want to talk about that. I have my views on drinking and being with certain people and all that. But did you ever make it pro?
So I raced semi-pro. So I raced the A class for 3 years, which if you look at the definition of professional, once you start getting paid to do anything, you are technically professional by the definition.
So you got paid?
Yeah. So I was getting paid to race, and they had a pro purse at the local races. So I didn't hold a pro license to race the national pro races, but I was getting paid to race the local pro class.
What kind of racing were you doing? Were you doing were you doing all the jumps and stuff? I know nothing about motocross.
So motocross, it's typically a 1 to 2 mile long dirt track.
Okay.
With all your jumps and stuff throughout the natural terrain of the track. So typical race format when you're racing the amateur stuff is 4 to 6 lap motos up until A class, and then A class is typically a 20-minute plus 2 race format.
Dude, that's got to be really intense on the body.
Definitely. Motocross is, depending on where you're getting your stats from, one of the hardest sports on the human body. You're running your max heart rate for just about that whole 20 to 30 minute time frame.
Really?
So, I mean, my heart rate would average anywhere between 180 to 190 beats per minute for 20 to 30 minutes straight.
What's like the hardest part physically?
So it's not just holding on to a bike. I mean, these tracks are gnarly. I mean, you got 3-4 foot stutter bumps everywhere, and you're pushing yourself the whole time. So just everything about it takes a lot out of you holding on to a motorcycle that has 30 to 40 horsepower, going around that track as fast as you can, having the right body positioning. I mean, your body's part of the shock absorption and the suspension, and, suspension's great, but when you're hitting all the bumps and everything just for that long, it beats up on you. And then all the injuries that come with it too.
Yeah, for sure. All the crashes. Yeah. What is the worst injury you've had?
I had full facial reconstruction. So about a month or two after my parents let me leave high school, we were at the Spring Nationals down in Texas, and my back brakes went out the first lap, and don't know what happened, but brakes went out. There was a super high-speed straightaway with a probably 120-foot tabletop at the end of it. And what they think happened is I just had too much speed, and somehow the handlebar came into my face and tore the whole left side of my face up. So
Oh my God,
had
dude.
full
No
facial
way.
reconstruction, over 300 stitches down to my skull, fracture up in my top of my face here, and lost my tear duct. So
So your parents were probably like, you're going back to high school, dude. What the fuck did we just let him do?
So they had to actually fly down. I was with a buddy who was doing the same thing, and his dad ended up going to the hospital with me. But yeah, they flew down, got probably one of the worst calls of their life, and there wasn't any like, we're going back to school or anything like that. It was just, what do we need to do to get better?
Okay, cool.
So yeah, I had a brain hemorrhage as well, so my brain was bleeding, and down in the hospital for 3 or 4 days. I woke up like the second day I was there, and it's like, what's going on here? I didn't know where I was.
You were out.
at. Yeah, I was out, so didn't remember really that whole week leading up to it. And from there, it was just like, finally got my dream of dropping out of school to go racing and start racing the national circuit. And how do I get better? Because the doctor said you're never going to ride again with that injury.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I'm going to ride again. And it was actually kind of surprising. My mom backed me, 100%. I would have thought she would have said, no, we're done with this. We're selling everything. But she saw my passion for it, and she always stood behind me when I was having the down days and kept me on the straight path.
That's crazy, dude. One second. We got to restart this real quick. I'm going to put a timer on so we don't have to do that again. What does that do to a kid that's 14 years old, right? You said that there was no one like, oh shit, we're going back to school. It was more so like, what do we do to get better and to not make this happen again? Is there any fear in you? Was there any hesitancy? How do you think that like built your character? Because obviously at 14 years old, that's got to do something, right?
Well, I got pretty lucky. I don't remember any of it, so it'd probably be a little different if I remembered it. But
Yeah.
I didn't remember any of the crash. Didn't know what happened at all. So to me, it was just, what do I need to do to get back to racing as quick as I can? So within a week, it was back to training and back to running and on the road bike and everything. And then
1 week.
going through all the doctor appointments and whatnot. Had to do a lot of testing with my brain bleed and whatnot to make sure that was healing properly. And the swelling was going down to my face. My eye was swollen shut for probably a week and a half, 2 weeks, to the point where I couldn't even see out of it.
Wow.
So it was just doing what I could to get my body back in condition and let it heal.
What do the doctors say when you're like back at it and you're on the bike again?
Well, I had some great doctors, but I didn't really see them after I got cleared to go racing again. So
I would have been like,
yep.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking in my head. I was like, you can't tell me what I'm gonna do or what I'm not gonna do. I'm never gonna be limited by what someone else says, because we live in a world where people will try to limit you based on what the normal is for them. And it's like, why are you putting those limiting beliefs on me?
that's great that you had that mindset even at 14, dude. That's something that I always had. I was always a big dreamer since I was young, but I didn't come to the realization about this about myself until actually recently, probably like 2 months ago, 3 months ago. I read a book called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. Have you read it?
Phenomenal book.
You read it? It's great. So I read that book and I realized one of the reasons, like, cause I've always been ask my cousins, ask my family, right? I've been the kind of like the black sheep of the family. I just like don't give a fuck about anything. But I realized after reading this book, I actually did give a fuck. Yep. And the thing that I cared about was the opinions of other people. Not so much their opinion about what I was doing, but what their opinion would be if I failed at something. If I did something and then I failed it, right? And then so I come to this realization, I'm like, wait, what the fuck am I scared about failing for? Like, who cares? If I'm the one who said, let's just say I opened this gym and I gave it my all, I gave it my go, I started this podcast, I tried it, whatever it was, I tried it. I'm the only one that can say I tried it.
Exactly.
Out of anybody that I know.
And better to try it and fail than never try it and never know.
Because you always have that question mark, right?
Yep.
So after you're done with, not done with motocross, I'm not going to say you're done because I have no idea. Yep. But when it starts to come time to go to school, like to go to college and shit, What's that transition like?
Yeah, so I ended up going back to school for my senior year of high school. I ended up having another injury or two that, I wasn't going to be able to be down in Georgia. So parents wanted me to go back, and I agreed to it because they let me try. So you can't just take. They gave, and it was my turn to give back to them and do what they wanted to do. So went back to school for my senior year, kept racing once I healed up again. And then college talk came up, and they wanted me to go to college. I didn't want to go to college at all. I've always learned through real world experience, and I had a terribly hard time going back into school after being out for 3 years.
Sure.
So finally agreed that I would go give it a whirl, and got into Whitewater here in Wisconsin, and was going to go into the business school. So week before I actually went to Whitewater to start my first semester there, I had my final race. It was down at Lake County in Illinois. Big pro purse for a fair race.
How much was it?
It was $20,000 pro purse.
Damn.
So,
okay.
Yeah, the fair races always have some of the biggest pro purses. And ended up tearing my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. And it was just getting to a point where that level of racing, everyone's going so fast, the bikes are getting faster and faster, but everyone starts to get a little aggressive on the track where you're hitting each other harder and faster, and it just got to the point where it was like, for the money that was to be made, it just wasn't worth it.
Right.
Because, even if you win that pro purse, if you don't win the pro purse, you're spending all the money to get back to the track the next week and to try to win. So
yeah.
Just not a lot of money in it.
Where's the money made? In the sponsorships?
In the sponsorships, yeah.
Okay.
And there's probably 40 guys in the world that race it every single weekend at that top level, and then maybe 20 of them are actually doing well for themselves.
Got it. Okay. What's the hardest part about going back to school when you have to go to college?
The structure. I did not like being controlled as far as, how I was going to be spending my time. Just a lot of time sitting in the classroom, daydreaming of what else I could be doing, and just bored.
What did you want to be doing?
I wanted to be back training and racing and having fun.
Yeah. Did you get wrapped up in the partying in college?
Definitely.
Was it an effect of feeling like you weren't pursuing something greater?
Yeah, it was just out of boredom. I mean, there was nothing else to do. I went to a business school, and we weren't even learning anything business. It was all gen eds and random stuff that first year that they have you do. And it's like, well, we're paying a lot of money to be here, and I'm not even learning anything that I'm supposed to be majoring in. So might as well party and have a good time and hang out with people and make the most of it. But at the same time, after a year of just partying every single day and whatnot, it was like, I'm bored. Like, there's more to life than this.
College is such a scam, dude.
Agreed.
I think that the partying is their marketing.
100%.
So
find yourself. 4 years to find yourself.
Right. They market you to go to college by showing you all the partying. That's all you ever see with like college, all the like shit on Instagram, the parties and stuff. So you're like, oh my God, I want to go to college. Too bad this is going to cost me $60,000. Great. Good thing it's going to cost me $60,000 a year or whatever it is, right? And then you come out and you can't even get a job to like pay off your loan.
And how many people come out with a degree and get a job with nothing to do with that degree at all? So,
right.
I mean, there's people like my older brothers that, they're doctors. You have to go to school. That's probably one of the few things I believe in the education system for, is that you're a doctor. Probably don't want a doctor working on you that hasn't been through medical school. But at the same time, how much better would that time be spent instead of having, the 4 years and then another 4 years of medical school, if they just spent that full 8 years practicing and being in a hospital in the first place through an apprenticeship?
Yeah, that's interesting because I've talked to a lot of so my girlfriend's a PA, and I have a friend who's a orthopedic surgeon, spinal surgeon, and I've talked to plenty of other doctors too, and they all say, not Heather, but all the other people I've talked to say that most of their learning does happen when they have to go to the do their their rounds or whatever, their clinicals. Yeah. So I agree with you. I think that a lot of the little shit does need to be learned, and I also agree with you that the STEM field is probably the stuff that you should go to school for. All the other stuff though, like fucking like HR and business, like you should be in the field learning
Go to
this
school
stuff.
for business?
I didn't go to school for business. I barely went to school.
Do you think you're going to learn more out of a textbook or actually doing it real world? Because
I've learned so much more real world. Like I've had conversations with people that have like masters in business, and I'm baffled by how little they know about not just how little they know about business, because I'm not a super business dude anyway, but I'm baffled by the inability to create relationships, to know how to network, to know how business actually happens now, to know that social media is like the thing that you should be really hammering. There's so many flaws in what the business schools are teaching people that it's like, I'm like, you're fucking paying how much for this?
Yeah. And I mean, you probably have fires come up every single day in your business that you have to put out. And you'll never learn that in a textbook, because you just got to roll with the punches, and you learn it, and now you know how to handle it the next time. It's just not scenarios that can always come up.
It's yeah, so business, I'd say, is like, it's a day-to-day thing.
Definitely.
Right? Like you're learning, you can't like ingest the information and take it, like you have to experience it in order to know. I'm going to just drop some heat real quick, some drama. We had an incident, let's say, happen this year with an old business partner, and he left. And the brother told me that just some stuff, some drama and this stuff. But in the conversation, he decided it was a good idea to give me his opinion on things. He's an engineer. And I said to him, I'm like, have you run your own business? And he goes, no. And not that that's a prerequisite to know everything, because it's definitely not. But I asked him if he's ever run his own business. No, I'm an engineer. Okay, so what do you think you know about business? Well, I handle some of the business stuff at... No. I'm asking you specifically, what do you know about the gym business, the fitness business? He told me that I was gaslighting him. A 31-year-old man, I was gaslighting because I asked him if he knew business while being an engineer. That's kind of weird, huh?
Well, it goes back to the truth is not feelings, it's facts.
Right, totally.
You're entitled to feel the way you do, but it does not make you right.
Right.
And I think that's something that people need to get over. Everyone has too much pride to be wrong nowadays, where you can't get better if you're not able to be wrong and learn from it.
You should be asking questions constantly.
Always.
Like, if you think you're the smartest person, I have this talk with Heather so much. If you think you're the smartest person in the room, or you think that you're smart, you're probably stupid.
100%.
Like,
you never want to be the smartest person in the room. Or
no,
the top
you
dog
never.
In the room.
No, absolutely
Always
not.
be reaching up.
Exactly. And even the people below you, right? You should constantly be asking them questions, because they're the people who actively see what you're doing every single day. They're the ones who take your leadership. So you should be asking them their opinions.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's so easy to get stuck and ingrained in what you're doing every day as well. Like this past week, I hired on a new director of sales, and he has zero experience in the office furniture industry or the design industry. And he's seeing things from an outsider perspective that almost, it can guarantee you 90% of our customers have the same view as him. So it's helping me see it in a very different way, because I've been in the industry for the past 10 years now, and it's easy to get stuck. Like, I know all of this, so just assuming that my other staff or my customers know or think the same way, but they don't. They think the exact opposite way, most likely, because they don't have all that time in it. So it's great to have him as an outside person coming in and seeing it from a different way, and it's going to help us restructure a lot of things to make it much better customer experience for all of our clients.
That's awesome. Yeah, hell yeah. So let's get to how you actually get into business. So you go to school, you dropped out after a year.
So I went to school for a year, and then I got a house for my sophomore year and had full intention of going back. And we moved into our college house, and it was, same thing again. I'd been working for my dad that whole summer. I finally got out of the delivery and install side of furniture and into sales, and rose to our number one sales guy very quick. I was spending a lot of time doing things differently instead of waiting for customers to come in. I was cold calling companies. I was going to networking meetings, really doing everything I could to get out there and try to find business versus waiting for it to come to me and just be an order taker. So went back to college, super excited about this house. It's going to be a blast. We're going to get back to partying. And we moved in probably 3 weeks before school started. And after the first night, the floors were all sticky. There was dirty dishes in the sink every single day. And it was the day before sophomore year started. And I called my dad and I said, I can't do this. I'm coming home.
Really?
So they had been talking about franchising the business model at that point. And I said, I want to be the first franchisee for you guys. I know the business well, and I want to own and operate a business. So took the rest of the college money and put it into our first franchise.
Is that the one in Kenosha?
Yep. So that was our Kenosha office. So my brother, Simon, was graduating high school, or had just graduated high school, and he didn't want to really get into, or technically he'd be going into his spring semester at this point. And he did not want to continue the school or education system, and he ended up partnering with me, and we started our first company together down in Kenosha.
Okay, so wait, what was it about the sticky floors and the dishes that made you be like, fuck this shit, dude, I'm out?
I was never allowed to wear shoes in the house growing up.
Okay.
And I did not like the feeling of having to wear shoes in my house every single day, and it just being a disaster. I cannot stand living in filth.
How many dudes were in this house?
It was like 6 of us.
6?
Yeah.
Are they still your homies now?
No, I haven't talked to any of them in years.
Okay.
So one of my best buddies, Thomas, had actually dropped out and joined the Coast Guard that summer, and he was who I dormed with my first year.
Okay.
And at that point, I was starting to I'm not super, super keen on going back to school myself. And then it was just, those 3 weeks of the nonstop parties again and everything being a disaster, and I was just over it.
Do you think kids have to go through that?
I don't think so.
No?
I mean, it was not my full decision to go to school. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go to college, like I was telling you before. I wanted to get into the personal training side of things and get my license to be a personal trainer. But my parents were super adamant that I had to give it a go and at least try it out.
So do you think kids in their late teens, early 20s need to go through the party stage?
I don't think so. I think it's the biggest waste of time that there is. I just don't think it's a good use of time at all. I mean, yeah. I think it's good for parents to allow their kids to make those decisions and make those mistakes early on, but it's just such a waste of time and money. If I had that time back, I can't imagine how much further I'd be ahead. Yeah,
so I tell all of my kids that go off to college, right? I'm maybe one of the worst mentors you could have in this sense that I tell everybody not to go to college if they can help it, unless they want to be a doctor or an engineer or whatever.
Lawyer, whatever.
Yeah, something that's useful in the world, right? But I tell all them too, dude, if I was your age again, in the age that we're in, there's no shot I'd be going to fucking college.
No.
At all. And I'd just be trying to grind it out on social media. I'd be doing fucking drop shipping. I'd try everything.
Such a saturated market right now. I mean, everyone is pitched that they have to go to college if they want to do anything. And now you're seeing more companies that don't want people that go to college because they want people who are free thinkers versus people who have been taught just to play it by the book.
Yep. What was it like opening the first franchise?
So it was really, really cool experience, actually. So my brother and I found a 3,000 square foot space on Highway 50 down in Kenosha, and it was like a old car dealership, and the car dealership across the street from us actually had all of their F-150s parked in our front lot. So it looked like people didn't know if we were a car dealership, if we were a furniture store or whatever, but it was low rent for us, and we kind of just bootstrapped it. So all of our inventory, we liquidate companies as well. So we went and got all of our first inventory from a liquidation and had very low overhead from that. And we actually lived in the back office on a futon for the first 8 months that we had that company. So every single day, wake up, go to the gym, shower at the gym, come back, open the store up, and then in the evenings we'd go do all of our delivery and installations until, as early as 2 o'clock in the morning. The next morning we'd be wrapping up.
Wow.
And then heading back, going to bed, repeat every day for the first 8 months.
You're 20?
At that point, I was 19.
19.
Yep.
What are the rest of your friends doing at 19?
Still partying.
Yeah.
A couple of my buddies from my other friend group were still racing. So either racing or partying at college.
What are the kinds of conversations that you're having with those buddies?
I mean, depending on who it was with, if I was with a bunch of guys that were racing still, it was always about racing and riding. If I was with the other guys partying, that's all it was about partying. There was no interest in how the business was going or whatnot. And I quickly kind of grew away from both groups of people because what I wanted in life at that time was very different. You know, I went all in on the racing, or sorry, not the racing, with the business. And I had to give up the racing. I had to give up the partying and, you know, just focus all in on this one thing.
So did you feel alienated from your friends?
Yeah, I definitely felt alienated. When they say it's lonely at the top, a lot of times that's because you have to alienate yourself from the outside things that are going on. And it's kind of like a self-decision because no one else is going to have as much interest in what you're doing if you are a business owner as you are, whether it's your staff, whether it's your friends, your family, whatever it is. They might have surface level interest, but they're not as bought into it as you are. So,
well, they don't care if it actually makes it or not. They don't have a stake in it.
Exactly.
Do you feel any sort of like shade coming from your friends, or are they telling you like, man, come on, don't be a pussy, let's go party?
Yeah, I mean, definitely with the people that were from that college friend group, definitely they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
Because they were still in their party stage and whatnot. And the guys that were racing were still in the racing stage, and it just didn't really come up in conversation much. And it was like, well, you guys have no interest in what I'm doing, so it's kind of making it easier just to focus and go all in on this. But yeah, it definitely felt lonely at times. Luckily, have really, really tight family, so just spent a lot more time with my family at that time.
So when I first started this place, the gym, I remember having so many conversations with people about like friends, right? They wanted to go to the bar, they wanted to drink. We're like 28, 27. And they want me to like come and party on the weekend or whatever. And I'm like, guys, I fucking own a business, dude. Like, I can't be hungover tomorrow, and I can't go out tonight because I have fucking work to do. Like, I have shit to do. No, you can do this. You know, you can do that. It's fine. You'll be all right. It's just one night. And it's like, no, it's not just one night.
It carries into the next day.
It's the next day, and then it's the next day after that, and then it's next week, and the same thing happens again. It's like the momentum thing that we were talking about before, having discipline, right? Like, if you allow yourself to do it once, it's going to happen again. And if it happens again, it will for sure happen a third time. And it's just a domino effect, right?
Perpetual cycle that keeps on going.
Yep. And then so eventually I like came up with this thing that I would tell myself almost every day is that it's better to be in no company than bad company.
Agreed.
And it's lonely. It sucks, but like it kind of doesn't, because it shows you who your true friends are.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, everyone has different stages in their life. And I will never hate on anyone for being in that stage of their life.
Yep.
But you learn to love people at a distance.
Yeah.
So, you know, some of those people I'm back being good friends with, like some of the guys from that racing group, I'm back to being real close friends with them.
Yeah.
You know, one of them or two of them are standing up in my wedding
cool.
next weekend. So there's just different kind of periods in everyone's life, and you know, sometimes you have to distance yourself, and sometimes you can rekindle those relationships. Sometimes they just move on and, you know, evaporate. But
You meet people where they're at, right?
yeah, exactly.
It's gonna get real uncomfortable for you right here. What? You might want to leave.
Fiance's in the corner for everyone who can't see.
Yeah, for anyone who can't see. So if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, what's like dating like when you're young, opening a business? I can imagine you're probably not going out too much.
Yeah. So I had a girlfriend at the time that was still at school and kind of in that party phase and whatnot. And her family was actually from Kenosha, so that kind of played a big role in opening that Kenosha store. They were great. They owned they still own a local travel agency there, very large travel agency. They were great to me. They'd let me come stay a couple nights at their house or whatnot if I needed to get out of the office, you know, dinners, whatever. They were super supportive with that. But then, you know, it fell apart. I ended up breaking things off, and that relationship, we weren't at the same point in life anymore. And I was 100% focused in on this, and it was kind of dragging me back into the college partying stuff.
Yeah.
I ended up, partying a little too hard one night and ended up getting an OWI. So I was still surrounding myself with those people and, ended up paying the consequences for it. So at that point, I drew the line and it was like time to 100% cut this off because
Wow.
now this is limiting me. And like you were saying, it affects you the next day and after.
Yep.
You just put yourself at risk surrounding yourself with those groups sometimes. So that was 100% my decision, but it was time to grow up and move on.
And OWI, that's crazy, dude. I feel like everybody has that point in their life, though, right? That kind of wakes them up.
Definitely.
And makes them.
I mean, that was a big wake up call. After that happened, I was back at work, 4 hours later.
After that?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It like snapped you right into work mode.
Yeah. It was time to get back to work. No need to sit in my pity.
Yeah.
What happened? I knew my mistake. I still believe I was good at that point. Mm-hmm. What ended up happening was there was an open bottle in the back of my car. I was a mile away from my house after driving an hour.
Oh.
Someone left an open bottle of liquor in the back of the car, and they saw that in instant.
Yeah.
So just moving on from that, kind of going back to your question, what was dating like? There wasn't a lot of time for it. I was working all day, all night. It wasn't like I was going out to the bar or anything anymore, so it wasn't like I was meeting a lot of people my age. Mm-hmm. Everyone I was talking to, meeting, all that kind of stuff. It was a much older group. I was the young guy just trying to get my feet wet and establish myself, so it wasn't really a big focus at that point.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I feel like, ooh, God, we could go crazy right now about things. I feel like women can either be a really big blessing mm-hmm. in your life when you're trying to be in business and trying to achieve great things, or they can be your worst enemy.
100% agree. So, after I ended that relationship.
Also men for women, by
definitely.
the way. Yeah.
So after I ended that relationship, there was a couple, short-term relationships, but kind of like what you're saying, they were not bought in with my goals or my focus or the support. It was, why are you spending so much time working and whatnot? And then I met Taylor, and Taylor was the first girl who 100% backed me on everything and never questioned when I had to push off a dinner date or, cancel hanging out or whatnot to get more work done if that was the priority that night. She'd actually come to the office and help me, even if it was just being there to hang out with me versus canceling. Mm-hmm. She was there and would hang out with me while we had to get stuff built for customers, or if I had to send out more bids or whatever the case was. She was always willing to be there and support me.
Is that, do you think, the most important part of your guys' relationship? Is that she sees your vision and she follows with it?
Yeah. It was definitely essential because, it was one of the first things I let her know is that the business has to come first for this period in our life while we're building it and getting established. So there's going to be a lot of these times where I can't, be there for this event or that event, or I'm going to have to cancel. And she's never had an issue with it. Mm-hmm. So I think that was one of the biggest things and one of the biggest things with our relationship, because I am a businessman. It is, it's my game is what I call it. Mm-hmm. And that's where my focus is. So without having someone who fully backs and supports you and is willing to ride that bumpy road with you, I don't think it would work out.
Have there been any hiccups because of business?
There's definitely hiccups, but more of it comes from when I'm not being present when I'm not at work. So it's very easy to drag work into the home life. So one big thing that we've been working on lately is not being on my phone when I'm at home. So it's very easy to continue to work. It never ends, whether you're at home or wherever you're at. So, just setting aside time when we are together, being 100% off my phone and just being focused and present in that time, that's what's most important.
Not even TikTok, Taylor? He can't even scroll TikTok, dude?
Fuck no, it's Instagram.
Never been on the TikTok.
Yeah, I don't have TikTok on my phone either.
But
cool, dude. Yeah, that's actually a big problem that I had when it came to dating. Was girls would say things like, you're always working or you're always at work. You're emotionally unavailable because of this or whatever. I'm like, dude, I fucking told you what was good. You know, like, I don't need this shit. I don't need to like hear you like badger me or bother me for doing it. And then when actually that was one of the reasons that I got out of my long-term relationship. That was one of a few reasons. And then when I met Heather, like everything completely changed. Same exact story. She'd like come help me out at the gym when we were first opening it. On Sunday, she would help me clean. She'd do just all the good stuff, you know? So.
And it's important to have that support because it is mentally, you know, grueling at times, you know.
Yes.
It doesn't stop. So, you know, where most employees are able to just take off on the weekends or whatnot, that's like your time and it just never ends. You still have the problems coming to you. You always got to put it out. At the end of the day, it's your name on the line and your money on the line. So
100%.
important
dude.
to have that person who understands that and fully backs you with it.
And if they want you to support them, the only way that you can do it is if you're kind of like in the work all the time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So for anybody that's listening, I just restarted the camera again. Okay, cool, dude. So let's get into the traditionalist stuff because I think that this is a topic that I want to really get into this stuff on the podcast because I think that let's start here. What do you think about Andrew Tate?
I love Andrew Tate.
Okay.
I think he's one of the best things to happen to the young male generation that's coming up right now.
Why?
Because he preaches all the things that they're taking out of society right now. So
give me a couple examples.
Faith is a big thing. He was Christian and now I believe he's Muslim.
Yep.
So I don't care what religion you are, but I think religion is one of the things that's been removed from society. Mm-hmm. And you can see the consequences of that.
Yep.
Violence is higher than it's ever been. There's so much hate in the world nowadays. And what does religion do? Whether you're Christian, Muslim, whatever it is, it brings people together.
Yeah.
So I think that having that strong foundation backed by a faith, whatever faith you choose to follow, is super important. And it teaches you morals and gives you kind of core values to live by.
Yeah.
And I think all of the core values align with religions. You know, it's just the different intricate beliefs that come out of it.
Like who the prophets are and who the actual God is. Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. I would push back a little bit on that just by saying that I think it's a double-edged sword with religion. I don't like religion. I like faith.
Yeah.
Right? So religion to me is kind of dangerous because there are so many specific core values to each religion that it can cause violence.
Definitely.
You know, the other thing.
If you look back at it, I mean, there were the Crusades back in.
Oh, dude, yeah. And that's the other thing is like, I think that violence now is probably more tame than it was in like those days, right? Or maybe it's not. Maybe it was just like more grueling back then. Like they're cutting people's heads off and shit, right?
War
Yeah.
was normalized, yeah.
Right. One of the things that I really like about Andrew Tate is that he doesn't promote violence, but he wants to make training for dudes normal, right? And I think a big problem, and I don't know if you've ever been in a fight. I've been in a few. I think that one of the big problems in life is that people have never been punched in the face.
I 100% agree.
Yeah, and
It's easy to talk shit when you've never been punched in the face.
It's so easy, dude. It's so easy because, and I was just talking to Heather about this last night. Sorry about that. I was talking to Heather about it last night. Was that somebody had a little bit of attitude with me the other day, and I was like, I just, you know, I trained martial arts like my entire life, and then when I like was an adult, I trained Muay Thai for like 6-7 years. And one of the things that you're always taught, if you have a good coach, is never talk shit to people you don't know anything about. Yeah. Because you're going to get your ass kicked. You know, and so I was just like, I don't understand why this guy gave me a fucking attitude. It's so weird to me because I would never, ever treat somebody that I barely knew anything about like that.
Disrespectful.
Yeah. Ever. Because like he might have a gun on him.
Yeah.
And
never know nowadays.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. But that's one of the things that I genuinely like about him is that he like lets people know like, hey, the possibility of violence, you know, is real.
Yeah. And I think, you know, he just promotes betterment of oneself. So I think like anything nowadays, there's the one topic with Andrew Tate that I think gets the most attention, and that's probably what most people look at as womanizing.
Yeah.
But if you really listen to his core message, I think he uses that really as just the big way to advertise himself.
For sure.
And then when you push that aside, you see all the other things like the self-betterment, getting into business and, making money and just building the best life for yourself. I think that's super important and something that people aren't taught nowadays.
Do you think that everybody has that in them, though, to be a businessman and to be a multimillionaire?
I don't think everyone has it in them, but I think everyone has a certain amount of it in them.
Yeah.
And I don't think everyone needs to be a business owner. I actually would advise against people being business owners. I think more people will do better, make more money, be 10 times more successful if they find a business that they align with the mission, vision, and values of, and then work as entrepreneurs within that business. I think entrepreneurship has been so over glamorized, especially with social media nowadays. And a lot of people don't even understand what entrepreneurship really is.
What does entrepreneurship do?
So entrepreneurship, if you look at the definition, it's going to be someone who takes on more risk to start a business than someone else. It's the person who puts everything on them. They're the one carrying all of the risk. So a lot of people nowadays, I love multi-level marketing, but so many people that are in multi-level marketing companies think of themselves as entrepreneurs, but they're not, because they didn't take the risk and all of that financial risk of the overhead of employing all these people and having the payroll and all these things that the top dog at that company who started that multi-level marketing company has to carry.
Yes.
So if you're not carrying any of that risk, you're not technically an entrepreneur.
Thank you
for saying an entrepreneur, but it's different. At the end of the day, if the bills, if the money's not coming in, it's on you to pay the bills here. Otherwise, you're going to be in default, and that goes on to your name. Where, some people can handle that, some people can't handle that. There might be a trainer that you have that works for you who can't take on that risk, but could just kill it on the training side because they don't have to worry about that risk. And they could even be a better trainer than you.
Yeah.
But they just can't juggle all of the other things.
Right.
So I think that, it's not for everyone. And, some people just can't carry the weight, and that's why they get stuck and they just start new thing after new thing after new thing and never really go anywhere with it. Where if they'd get over the fact that I want to be an entrepreneur and just be a great entrepreneur and work it like it's their own business and go with it with that attitude, they'll level up super high in the company and do way better for themselves.
So one, I agree with you, and thank you so much for saying that about the MLM people because that is something that has driven me nuts for years is people who are in MLM saying that they're a business owner. And I'm like, you're not a business owner.
You're a salesperson.
Yeah, you're a salesperson. And that's, to be honest with you, I agree with you too. That's probably a better gig,
way better,
than owning a business ever will be for the next reason that for the number two that I'm about to give. Number two, my uncle said the same thing to me that you just said for years about not getting into business. Like, he's like, you're obsessed with this idea of working for yourself and wanting to be an owner. Mind you, he's a multi-millionaire, and he's like, but it's not as sweet as you think it is. And so finally, when I turned 28 and I decided to do this, we have a 2-hour phone call. And by the end of the phone call, he goes, I know that you're made for this. He's like, I know that I tried to deter you from being an entrepreneur for a long time, but now after this, after all these years, I know that you're supposed to do this. I know you're meant for this. You're going to do great things, whatever. But for that same reason, though, is that I think that entrepreneurship is so over glamorized, right? Because everybody wants to be their own boss, and you don't want to be your own fucking boss when you have to scrub the toilets.
No.
Dude, nobody wants to be their own boss when they have to scrub the toilets.
And it's on you at the end of the day to scrub those toilets.
Exactly, because the person that I have right now cleaning during this episode, right, he's not going to scrub the toilets.
No.
I don't even expect him to be frank, but he's not going to do it. I got to do it. Yep. Or my girlfriend or my mom will do it. You know what I mean? But when you have no idea how you're going to pay rent next month, you don't want to be an entrepreneur.
No.
That shit fucking sucks. Yeah.
And everything's so over glamorized, and there's so much fake stuff on social media nowadays. It's so easy to fake it. You see a Lamborghini in the streets and everyone goes and takes a picture with it nowadays. I mean, it's like people that wear the fake watches versus wearing real watches.
Yeah.
If you can't afford that real Rolex, there's no point in putting a fake Rolex on.
No.
Because all you're doing is deterring yourself from putting in that work and actually having the real excitement when you can afford that.
Yep.
But people are just so worried about fronting nowadays on everything, and people just get lost in this of, I got to fake it till I make it. And why? I don't know why everything's been so glamorized. And it's probably because of social media. Everything's posted online now. But at the same time, everyone knows at the end of the day who's faking it and who's really doing it.
Dude, everybody knows who's got money.
Yep.
Everybody knows who's really got the work ethic. It's crazy to me because I know tons of people when they get when they get a boost in their salary, they go buy a new car.
Yep.
Or like when when they started a business, it's not even cash flowing or anything, they got a new car.
Yep.
Stuff like that. And I'm like, do you want to be rich or just look like you're rich?
I'd rather be rich.
Right. Because for me, when I had the most money in my bank account, I was still wearing free clothes. Mm-hmm. Like, dude, I don't give a fuck. Yep. I just don't care. You will catch me with an Audemars on at some point, right? Like when I can afford a $500,000 watch or something, you will catch me with a nice watch for sure.
But why are you going to waste the money on the fake one in the first place?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, did I say fake watch?
No.
I said okay. My bad. Yeah, but no, you will catch me with a nice watch. It'll probably just be a Rolex, like the one that you got on right now. Is that a Rollie?
Not a Rollie.
That's not a Rollie?
Nope,
I thought I saw a green face.
Nope, just a T-Sot
right
here.
You will see.
$500 watch.
Oh, there you go. It's nice.
Something a little bit nicer.
Yeah, $500 is good. But you will see the Rolex on my wrist at some point. But mostly, I'll no matter what, no matter how much money I get, dude, I just don't care about showing people things. No. Like, I've never cared about that. I've never cared to prove how much money I have in my bank account. I've never proved to or cared about driving a really nice car. I drove a Mazda 3 when I could have afforded an Audi. I didn't give a fuck. I never have.
Well, you hear about the most successful people, and they're the people who can afford all this stuff, yet are still driving the Honda Civic or a quarter round or whatever because, the money's better in the bank or in investments that are going to provide for the rest of you than looking like you're rich and not having anything in the bank.
Right. Fucking Steve Jobs, dude.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, you see all these super elite, super rich people, and they're the ones that are living the most normal lifestyles. I mean, look at Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
He's still driving the same Cadillac around. He doesn't live in some crazy palace. He lives in, an upper class neighborhood still and everything, and just keeps on reinvesting, building that generational wealth.
Eating fucking McDonald's too, right? He's the McDonald's
and Dairy Queen.
Yeah, that's so funny. I agree with him with Dairy Queen, by the way. They have the best soft serve for sure. Yeah, dude. So with that being said, this is where we're going to end the pod. Okay. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Right. I ask everybody this. What is your biggest goal for this upcoming year?
My biggest goal for this upcoming year is to hire on 10 more people. And by doing that, we're going to be able to open up 3 more locations for Office Furniture Warehouse. So,
wow, good for you.
Giving another 10 people a vessel for them to earn for their families and, have a good living.
This actually is not one of the 3 questions. Is that your ultimate goal? Is that your why? Because you want to help people provide for their families? What's your why?
I want to give people a non-traditional path, kind of like I took. I want to be able to give them a vessel that they can always continue to get bigger and better for themselves and not ever have a cap on it, because if we all keep getting bigger and better, it's just going to help more and more people.
That's awesome. Cool. What are you willing to sacrifice for that goal?
So I've sacrificed a lot already to get to where I'm at right now. Took over the company really 100% took over the company this past year for my father, after putting years and years in paying my dues. And, say the question one more time.
What are you willing to sacrifice for the goal?
So I'm willing to sacrifice everything other than my family right now. It's my big goal this year and another big goal is to really just enjoy this first year with my to-be wife sitting across from me. But I'm willing to sacrifice all the fun and all the other stuff that most people are worried about living right now. So many people in their 20s are out traveling the world and spending and partying and all that. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to continue to sacrifice that stuff so that we can build and, enjoy life much earlier on than having to wait till we're late 50s, 60s to start enjoying life. So
yeah,
willing to grind it out for my next 10 years like I did my prior 10 years and keep on going.
Cool, man. Well, you already answered the 3rd question. That was, what are you not willing to sacrifice?
Yep. Not willing to sacrifice my relationships with my family.
That's great, dude.
Luckily, we're in family biz, and that helps things as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll carry on for another 2 minutes. How much do you think that plays into your success? And
Well, going back to your question about Andrew Tate earlier and what I think of him.
I thought about that when you said your brother.
One of the biggest things I admire is how close he is with his family and his brother. You see that nowadays so many families are broken up and they are not close or tight-knit anymore, where in the old days, everything was family business. Going into Europe still, everything's family business over there.
Yep.
And I don't think that there's any better way to live life than being super close and tight-knit with your family. You know, it's something I actually really, really value about the Indian culture is you see a lot of these families, they all live together in a compound, you know?
Yeah.
They pool their money and stuff like that, and it's very old school, but it works because they stay tight-knit, and it's easier to raise a family, you know, when you start having children and things, if you have, you know, the grandma there or the aunt and uncle there who can help you, and everyone's just staying together because you can trust no one like family.
Yeah. Takes a village.
Does take a village.
Cool, man. Well, hey, I appreciate you for being on the show. You're going to be guest number 11.
I'm excited. It's a good double ones.
Yeah, dude. Oh, that's a lucky pot. That's a lucky number. My birthday is May 11th.
It's all coming together.
Would you know? It is. Alex Hormozy says that if you do 20 episodes of a podcast, you're in the 1% of podcasters. So we're on our way to being in the 1%. So anyways, thanks a lot, dude. I really appreciate you being on. Good luck with my cousin.
Appreciate it.
Good luck, dude. Good luck. Anyways, thanks so much for listening, guys. Hit that Spotify subscribe button. Subscribe on YouTube. Like the video. Show Elijah some love. We'll put his Instagram stuff in the bio. And see you in the next episode. Thanks. Bye.